Good morning. Welcome in. It is the quick start for Monday, September 19th. We're 90 days out from December 18th, which actually December 18th at sundown starts Hanukkah. So as we keep saying, the holidays are coming. We're 90 days out now from the start of Hanukkah. December 18th at sundown, Hanukkah starts. Then we'll be a week out from Christmas. There's a bunch to be aware of and a lot of edumacation coming up. There was an M in there. Write it down. There'll be a quiz later. So please be aware of the content that's coming to your calendar in, for the rest of the fourth quarter, quite honestly. And so many opportunities for you guys to sharpen the axe and make sure that you are getting smarter in between your engagements with the humans, because that is super huge for us. We always talk about contracts class and the importance of understanding the paperwork that we are utilizing to serve our clients at a real high level. Above and beyond that, it's getting to the contract, right? We talk about the contracts a lot, and they are hyper important. It's the most important thing we do is navigating those conversations and those contracts and those transactions for our clients. We've got to get there first, right? And that's about having the right conversations and enough conversations. So for the rest of today, just understanding Ignite continues at 9 o'clock. That is on, again, all of the things that we reference that are on the calendar. You're like, where is this? It hits your inbox around 7:14 in the morning, ish. And that is the morning news. So Ignite 6.0 continues at the regional level. So please lean into that. A great opportunity to be in a classroom. And more often than not, you'll hear people reference the fact that we're talking to 6 states. So when the questions get to a point where you're like, oh, well, this particular instructor is from Vermont or Rhode Island or Connecticut, maybe I should check with one of our brokers about Vermont or New Hampshire. And not that somebody from Vermont couldn't talk about Vermont, but bear with me. When it gets back to our states, unless our market center is in the classroom, you might want to lean back into a conversation with your local leadership here, right? So you've got 2 of the best brokers on planet America in Jason Westcott and Jennifer Vashon, so leaning out to them. And then, of course, for your Massachusetts conversations, Alice Kabaki, please don't hesitate to reach out. Please. Above and beyond that, this Friday, and it happened last Friday too, Todd Smith, who's going to be our Bold coach on October 13th, is doing Bold bonus sessions. That's coming up this Friday. So you can lean into that conversation, get to know Todd a little bit better. Before going to the free first step, October 13th in Greater Portland, it's going to be at the Italian Heritage Center. And then after that, steps 2 through 7 are going to be at People's Choice Credit Union upstairs. If you went to that a few years ago, it's a cool room. Super. They have foosball. I heard they also have a golf simulator, which I'm pretty sure we were told not to touch. It'll most likely be unplugged and probably covered in police tape. Anyway, it's a great room. Today at 11 o'clock, Future and Emerging Cappers. And the reason we're doing Future and Emerging together, it's a universal conversation. Everyone in that group is working towards capper status. And we also have Seacoast Board of Realtors Golf next Monday. So I'm combining the two. Future and Emerging Cappers today at 11, Keller TV. Ask the brokers. Access to your brokers at 1 o'clock today with Jen Vashon and Jason Westcott. And that's at 1 o'clock on Keller TV. Things to remind you of tomorrow. We're meeting at KWCLM in Dover, the Dover office. So the home tour of Stratford County is tomorrow at 8:15. Meet at the Dover office tomorrow for that. We've got scripts practice tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And then some big rock things going on this Wednesday in Meredith is All Partners for the month of September. So that is Wednesday. And contracts is going to take place live in that space. And the contracts and the meeting are all going to be on the Lookin' Chicken. So they will be a hybrid experience. From 9 o'clock straight through noon o'clock, we're going strong with, we've got Maine, and then we have Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, okay? And then we've got the All Partners meeting, so be there for that. After that, InstaLeads coming in hot with Melissa Burke, your MCTT, and Alana Babineau, your marketing director. So that class is right afterwards. So be there for that as well. And then on Thursday, Mark is set up in the Meredith training space from 9 to 12. We're going to do a replay of that first morning of Mega Camp where Gary does basically talks about the industry, talks about the changes. If you missed that first morning, really powerful. The two guests that he brought on first to talk about overcoming adversity. And then at 12 o'clock, I'm in Meredith this Thursday for our, town hall style mastermind. So if you're in Wolfboro or Meredith or anywhere, you're welcome to come. You're always welcome to come to those Thursday 12 o'clock meetings, no matter where you're from. We travel the footprint to make sure we're getting to everybody in person on a regular basis, and that is this Thursday. So tons of stuff going on, and I can't remind you enough. I think we may create a problem for ourselves here insofar as there's two things that are on the table when it comes to our calendar. First and foremost, we as a staff are never going to put anything on the calendar that's not hyper important. It's just not going to be there. Everything on there, there's meat on the bone. You're going to see on a regular basis, there's stuff that's coming up on a regular basis. Like, wow, I saw that a couple of months ago. Yes, those are our repeat offenders that we find high importance in, and that's always going to be coming up on the calendar on a regular basis. So if you do miss it, it might have been hybrid. It also may have been recorded, and it may be in the LMS. And the LMS is at KWCLMtraining.com, which there's a new thing that's going to be coming soon, which you'll hear more about very soon that Zoe's been working on, which is going to be an awesome resource that the LMS is going to live inside of. It is going to be truly your one-stop shopping as a KWCLM agent. We'll have more on that in a little bit. But what I want to talk to you about today is, Gary said this at Mega Camp. He said it quite a few times, and I want to talk about sphere and sphere of influence and the differentiation of the two. And then above and beyond that, I want to talk about lead generation in general. I know you're shocked. You're like, wow, it's Monday and Coach is talking about lead generation. You're damn right we are. So first and foremost, Gary references the fact that the reason we've been so successful as a company, and when he started, and this was something he had to get right in his head when he was an agent 4,000 years ago up until now, is I think too many people, and this is his words, and you can't tell Gary how to feel. You can change his thinking, but he's not wrong in this when you think about this. Too many people are concerned about filling their database with people who want to buy, sell, and invest in the moment, right? Your thought process is, I'm making these phone calls because I'm adding people to my database who are in the window of transactional. And the probability of that on a given day is few and far between. We know that. You're going to have conversations today, and beyond the shadow of a doubt, you're going to get somebody on the phone, and are they buying, selling, and investing tomorrow or next week? The probability of them being in the window of, oh my God, I'm so glad you called. We just started talking about this last night. That will happen if you're doing it enough. If you're doing it enough. If you're having enough conversations, obviously that math starts to compound. And the probability of you running into somebody who's about to be transactional just after lunch is a lot higher. Gary's thought process was, I'm adding everyone I know. I'm talking to anyone and everyone I'm adding to my database. So if you fish, I don't. I've been fishing once. I went deep sea fishing with Nathan, Jay Papazan. I caught one thing. We threw it back because that's what you're doing. You deep sea fish, you throw it back. Unless, I don't know, you're a whaler or something. See, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Back to lead gen. If you're fishing, it's the mentality of throwing it back. And I think we have to start to understand, like, oh, this one's too small. I'm going to throw it back. Or this one's not close enough to transactional. I'm going to throw it back. And if you think about when Jason Abrams was talking about, that he draws the up and down, the heartbeat of real estate. And the dot at the top is when they get to transactional. The question is, are you willing to be in relationship with them as they climb that mountain? That 3 to 5 to 7 year gap. I'm going to go back to 5 to 7 years. 3 to 5 was a couple of years ago. It's around 5-ish years. The average American moves. So are you going to stay out of relationship until they become transactional? And James Shaw talks about this all the time too, right? You either love people or things, right? Because if you love people, you'll talk to them all the time. If you love things, you'll talk to people when they're going to give you money. And those are James Shaw's words. And if they hit you right in the sternum, then let's ask ourselves, am I talking to people to engage with them, to nurture the relationship, to stay top of mind, to be a service to them, right? Because it's head down, heart up, service first, sales second. If you're making calls today, if you're engaging with people today, and I say making calls because it's the easiest, fastest thing you can do, your phone's right next to you, little phone, big phone, whichever phone you're using. If you're door knocking today, if you're going to a board event today, if you're going to a business to business today, a chamber meeting, whatever you're doing today, whatever you're doing to engage with the humans, to remind them you're alive and you're here to help, are you doing that enough? And then when the opportunity comes up is when you're engaging with somebody. Well, how do I bring up that I'm a realtor? You don't have to. It's going to come up. Everyone's going to talk about the Ford conversation: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. We've got to get out of our own heads when it comes to who we think belongs in our database. All the humans belong in your database. All the humans. Unless you trip over somebody who is currently engaged and under contract with another agent, we don't keep communicating with them. That is called crossing a sign, right? And if you check in with your aunt or your mom today and she's engaged in a transaction with another agent, that's a whole other conversation. I have a leather recambier. We have some scotch. We'll work it out. You cannot blame that agent and your mom if they stole your cheese. And that will happen to people along the way. So let's be aware of that. The other thing I want you guys to think about and to be aware of is we tend to cram these two words together, and they are mutually exclusive. Everyone refers to their sphere of influence. Everyone has a sphere of influence, and it resides inside your sphere. And here's why I'm saying these words. I think we're all convinced that everyone in our sphere is in our sphere of influence. Two things going on. You've got people in your sphere that know you that are not currently being influenced by you. And I don't mean in a negative way, but you've got people in your life. There are people in your world. There are people in your phone that don't know that you're alive and you're here to help. They don't know that you're licensed as a realtor. Okay? So you're not influential over them. They will go to somebody else. Conversely, there are people in your sphere that are not influential. And we still love them, but we want to grow our sphere of influence. What do I mean by that? You've got someone in your sphere, Aunt Thelma, and we love her. We love her. Great potato salad at the 4th of July cookout. Yet, when she's not at the cookout on the 4th of July with that wonderful red skin potato salad, when she's not there, she is home talking to her cat, Pickles. She only talks to Pickles. So we still love Aunt Thelma. You're going to stay in touch with Aunt Thelma. You're going to care for her. You're going to make sure she has what she needs. You're going to be the servant in her life. Yet, as we're pursuing more conversations, we want to know who the mayor of her town is. And I mean that politically and emotionally, right? There's that person in town that knows everybody who's not actually the mayor, but they're the mayor. The end game is it should be us. It should be us. That's the video game of what we do. When there's a question about lifestyle, because yes, our job is to help people navigate these contracts to get them into the house they want at the price they desire. Our job is to save them time and money in the real estate transaction, yes. After they move into the brick and mortar, we are curators of lifestyle. Before they move into the brick and mortar, we are teasing lifestyle. Now, I'm not saying you have to be the Phantom Gourmet and be at all the restaurants and know all the things. But if one of your clients, whether they are a future client, a current client, or a forever client, notice I didn't say past client, a forever client, if they call you to find out where they should buy cupcakes, you should have an answer. If they call you, find out where their son for homecoming should go get his hair did, you should have an answer. If they call you because they need a new esthetician to get their cuticles cuticled, you should have an answer. Creating these relationships within your town, within your neighborhood, within your sphere of influence is going to be the game changer. Now, whether you battled COVID or not, there are a lot of people that psychologically are still in a COVID fog. They're not engaging. And there's nothing keeping you from engaging. Because when we were in 3 feet of COVID and everyone was home, I would argue we were making our best care calls. Because it was the only way we could stay connected with our people was remotely, digitally, over the phone, or on the Zooms. And I think now we get in our own heads and we're like, well, you know what? I'll probably run into them. I'll see them out and about. Everything's back to normal. Is it? Are you back to normal? Or are we waiting? You'll hear me say this all the time. People are working with buyers. You've got 5 or 6 active signed buyers. And you'll say you're working with them. And I'll ask you as your coach with love, are you working with them or are you waiting with them? If you have an active signed buyer today and they're looking for something in the marketplace, and as far as Billo tells you, or whatever they're looking on, whatever crap tool they're using that's not yours, and you're letting them do the looking, then you're waiting with them. You're waiting with your buyer client at a bus stop where the bus is never going to pull up because somebody down the street is doing their job and they're going to fill the bus. So when you're thinking about your sphere of influence, are you creating influence in your sphere? Do people look at their sphere and say, oh, Tim is definitely one of the people in my sphere who is of influence? And then in your sphere, again, that's everyone you know. There are only some of those people that are influential. Are you staying in touch with them? Because I hear there's some of you that will say this on a regular basis. Oh, I know if I call Ted or Stacy, anytime I call Ted or Stacy, they always have something for me. Then call them more often. If every time I walked into Target, I was client of the month and the streamers dropped and they gave me a $100 gift card, I'd probably just go there more often. So if you win every time you talk to somebody and they're happy to offer that over to you because they're understanding of how your business works, stay in high relationship with them. Make them feel heard and cared for. You're going to have people in your life that will never pull the trigger on a transaction with you, yet they will send you 5 to 6 deals. People in our sphere, well cared for over the course of our career, typically run 5 to 6 deals. Now, if you're into your career and you're like, I haven't experienced that, ask yourself how you're engaging. Ask yourself how you're engaging. There's so many things to talk about right now. And as your coaches, I can tell you right now, Zoe and I don't want you to pick up the phone and be like, hey, Chad, how's it going? What do I have to do to get you into a Buick today? That's why everybody feels like we're used car salesmen. The first thing out of your mouth is transactional. Bold law. Logic makes them think, emotion makes them act. We have to romanticize what we do for a living. We have to emotionalize what we do for a living. So when I call and I ask Ted, how are Stacy? How are the girls? How's Liberty Mutual? He's most likely, our friends with warm blood in their veins and a thumping heart are going to say, how's Janine and the boys? How's Keller Williams or how's real estate? My God, I'm so glad you asked. I was just talking to my team. Our goal for this year was to help 66 families. We need 22 more. Who do you know that we should know? Who do you know that we can help? Who do you know that we can serve? Ask it any way you want. Work will come up. You can induce the ask by asking Ted or Stacy about Liberty Mutual. They will ask you about yours. Is that going to magically happen on the first call? No, not if you haven't talked to Ted and Stacy for 38 years. You've got people in your life that you haven't talked to since the Truman administration. Change that today. We're allowed to change that today. Our careers, as John Keller said on that phenomenal video about our 40th anniversary, our calling is freaking fun. We're allowed to make it really fun. If you told your friends in corporate America, I get to get on the horn every day, check in with the people that I know and love and trust, and make sure they're good, and find out who they know that I can help. And if I do that on a regular basis, I can set more than one kitchen table a week, which based on our average is a GCI of $10,000. Said with love, the only thing standing between us and whatever we want this to look like is us. We have such a massive opportunity to help so many people. And some days we choose to sit on our hands. So why don't we change that today? Why don't we work on our sphere to create more influence? I always use analogies. I'm going to use my Yeti. Where is it? Paid good money for this. I'm going to show the logo. There it is. The container is the room. Whatever the cocktail inside is, it's water today, unfortunately. The cocktail is the conversation. The ice cubes in the cocktail are the people, and you are the straw in the drink. Our job is to move about the room, move the conversation, bold law, people grow into the conversations we create around them, and touch all the ice cubes. Are you in touch with everyone in the conversation? And are you creating the conversation for people to grow into? We are the thermostat, not the thermometer. We set the temperature in the room. We set the conversation. We create the knowledge about the marketplace in our neighborhoods. Absent that, they're getting it on the news. And we don't have time for me to cover the news. This is a French word, write it down. The bullshittery that the news creates. The past negative information coming from the news. Because the local news, the national news can't speak of the market of the moment in your neighborhood. Only you can. So ask yourself, how many people will I speak to today? And when the opportunity to talk about business comes up, how many people will I have the opportunity to ask them, who do they know that I should know? Who do they know that we can serve? And if you're a party of one, you get to use the royal we, because you've got 740 teammates standing behind you and a massive staff standing behind you to make sure that we can take care of anything that comes your way. I joke about this all the time. If you talk to your Uncle Tony today, and he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to open up a pizza place on Mars, book the appointment. Because we all like pizza. We're building a shuttle, and we'll open a friggin' market center on Mars. Figure it out. We will figure it out together. And stay away from, well, I don't know, Uncle Tony. I'll find out. Don't say that. Stop saying, I don't know, I'll find out. Start saying, great question, Uncle Tony. I'll look into that for you. It's a slight tweak in the semantics, but the last thing I know as a civilian, as a consumer, the last thing I would want to hear from my future realtor is, I don't know. Let's say, great question, I'll look into it. If you need help with your marketing, oh, the squeaky door is squeaking. Zoe's coming in. I'm going to get yelled at. If you need help with your marketing, it is timewithbabs.com, BABS, timewithbabs.com. Your brokers are on Killer TV at 1 o'clock. And then above and beyond that, if you need my face, God help you all, it is meetwithcoach.com or 603-834-2856. We'll see you in and around the Market Center. Work on your sphere of influence. That and your sphere are mutually exclusive. And one needs to be greater than the other so they can both grow. Take care, guys.